Hello, my most important friends. If there is a place that makes me want to stay forever, it is Santa Ana, the city on the mountainside that still has friends. We arrived on such a dead day until we met them. They are people with gray hair, wrinkled skin, but full of life smiles. They call this place La Ultima Terraza, which means the last work. A group of about 10 people, scattered in small houses on the mountainside, gather once a day in the afternoon, sit in a circle of plastic looking at the volcano, talk, drink coffee, and wait for the sun to set. Mrs. Lucia, who showed me around, said, "We live here because we don't want to die in the city." I looked at her and asked, "Are you afraid of crowds?" She smiled. "No, it's quiet." That answer followed me all day. Walt was invited by the men in the group to play dominoes. I sat with the ladies, listening to them tell stories of their youth. Some were nurses, some were dancers, some did not do anything remarkable but knew how to cook the best food in the area. They did not talk about illness. They told stories of their first love, of the times their parents were discovered when they sneaked out to watch fireworks, and of the old songs they used to sing in the rain. When I asked, "Aren't you afraid of volcanoes?" Lucia shook her head. "Old people are not afraid of death. They are afraid that no one will listen to their stories before they die." Tonight, we were invited back to a small wooden house. Walt said, "This is the first time I've found a place where growing old is something to be proud of." I nodded. Here, the old are not forgotten. They are the keepers of memories for the whole area. They are the storytellers, the last echoes when other sounds are still there. Before leaving, I asked permission to record a song that Lucia sang. The lyrics are unclear, maybe dialect or local slang, but the melody brings tears to my eyes. She said it was a song her mother used to sing to her when she was a child. Now she sings it to herself every night when the heat begins to waft out of the trees. If you're listening, I want you to remember, old age is not the end. It's a new level where you can see it all, where you're no longer chasing after anyone, where a cup of coffee can make you feel truly alive. And if you have a parent, grandparent, or someone who's getting old next to you, please take the time to sit down. Not to ask them what they need, but to say, "I'm here and I want to hear you continue." The next morning, Walt woke up early, holding an old map that an old friend from Santa Ana had shoved into his hand before they left. "Go here, peaceful," he said, pointing to a red circle marking a place called Coatepec, a name that took me a long time to pronounce. But after a few dozen minutes of driving, I understood why they called it peaceful. Lake Coatepec was a forgotten jewel in the heart of an ancient volcano. The water was as flat as a giant mirror. The sky seemed to stop above the lake, and the wind blew very softly, as if afraid to break something sacred. We parked on the side of the dirt road, next to a small path that led to a simple wooden dock. And there, at the end of the dock, sat an old man, holding an old guitar, the strings rusty, but the sound it produced was heartbreakingly clear. I sat down next to him. He didn't look at me. He kept playing, still singing in a Spanish I didn't understand. But I didn't need to understand to know I was hearing something very real, very human. After a while, he stopped, turned around. "Your husband is a soldier." I nodded. "Yes." He smiled, most of his teeth gone. "Me too, but I only fought with this." He pointed to his guitar. His name was Mateo. He had lived here for more than 30 years, after leaving the city because he couldn't stand the noise. "I'm not looking for peace," he said. I just want to find a place where no one asks me to be anything." That made me silent for a long time. He said he went to the dock every day, played a few old songs, and waited. Not for anyone in particular, just waiting to see who was quiet enough to sit and listen to a whole song. People are busy. Even when they retire, they're busy. I asked, busy with what? He chuckled softly, busy with regretting what they didn't do. That evening, Walt and I brought 2 folding chairs and sat next to Mateo under a small oil lamp. He played the guitar, Walt told stories about the soldiers, and I just listened in silence. No one talked about the future. No one mentioned tomorrow. We just sat there, 3 old men from 3 different lands, quietly next to each other, as if we had known each other for a long time. Before leaving, he gave me a plectrum, a piece of plastic with the inscription, "La musica no necessita memoria, solo corazon." Music does not need memory, only the heart. I brought it home and put it on the table in the RV, next to the map of the route. And I thought, maybe our journey is not just about passing through places, but about meeting people like Mateo, who do not need names, do not need backgrounds, just a piece of music, a windless afternoon, and someone willing to stay. If you're listening to this, and you find yourself not having a proper conversation with someone in a long time, not over a text, not in a meeting, but actually listening, then maybe it's time to do that. Because sometimes, what's missing in life isn't an answer. It's an old song, sung by someone just because you're there. On the way out of Lake Coatepec, we got lost. Walt insisted on taking the less traveled path instead of the one with the signs. I didn't argue. Since the beginning of this trip, the times we got lost had always been special. And this time was no exception. The road led up a hill where a few low-roofed houses were hidden under the trees, and a steady drum beat echoed in the thin air of the highlands. We stopped. The drumming wasn't festive. It was coming from a small classroom. No fence, no nameplate, just a flat area with some stones as tables and 15 children sitting in a circle. A woman was holding a drumstick, tapping rhythmically on a hollow log. No blackboard, no microphone, just the wind and the sunlight filtering through the leaves. Walt and I stood there for a long time before a little boy waved us over. Her name was Renee. She studied at a teacher training college in the capital, but returned to her hometown when her mother passed away. Without the conditions to open a proper class, she gathered the children together, teaching letters, teaching rhythm, teaching listening. I asked, "Aren't you worried that the children will be at a disadvantage in the future?" She just smiled. They need to learn how to be human first. Being human doesn't need Wi-Fi. They need someone to show them how to look into other people's eyes, listen, and sit still patiently for a while. We sat and played with the children all afternoon. Walt showed a little boy how to fold banana leaves into an airplane. His name was Oscar. He didn't talk much, but when I asked him what his dream was, he answered after 3 seconds of silence, "I want a new pair of ears for my grandfather so that he can hear me say I love him." I bit my lip. The most beautiful sound sometimes isn't music. It's a child dreaming on behalf of an adult who has lost the ability to dream. Before leaving, Renee gave me a stone. On it was a rough, hand-carved line. "A teacher is one who sits still before speaking." She said, the children called the stone a book. They wrote down the lessons they had learned on it. No grades, no exams, but lessons that would last a lifetime. I put the stone on the dashboard, next to Mateo's plectrum, next to Lucia's picture. I saw our RV as a little museum, not a possession, but a testament to people who dared to live authentically. If you're listening to this and ever think you have nothing more to learn, try sitting down next to a child, not to teach, but to listen to him or her. Who knows, you might learn something that time and maturity have inadvertently taken away.